What if the weakest kid in class turned out to be sitting on more power than anyone in his entire kingdom? Stick around because by the end of this video, that trash E-rank loser becomes a legend that makes generals tremble. His name is Shu Jing Ming, and on paper he's a nobody. One day left before the biggest exam of his life, and his own teacher is telling him not to bother showing up. See, Shu Jing Ming isn't from this world. He got dropped into a place called Blue Star, a planet just like Earth, except it's crawling with monsters. To survive, humans awaken powers at 16 ranked from F all the way up to S. Most people get stuck somewhere between F and D. Shu Jing Ming's power? A pathetic E-rank spark of electricity barely strong enough to power a stun gun, and his classmates never let him forget it. A rich kid named Huang Tian struts over, calls him trash to his face, and tells him to give up before he embarrasses the whole school. He even predicts Shu Jing Ming will die on exam day. Even his crush Linking tells him to just play it safe and pick the easy path. See, in this world you've got two: liberal arts, where you live a quiet ordinary life, or martial arts, where you march into a monster-infested zone and fight for your life just to earn a spot at a real university. Everyone thinks he's crazy for even considering it, but Shu Jing Ming has a reason nobody else knows. Years ago, he watched his own parents die in a beast attack. Helpless. Powerless. A kid crying over two bodies. He is never going to feel that helpless again. So that night, he grips his registration form and makes his choice. Martial arts exam, no turning back. He heads to the training hall, spear in hand, and grinds until he collapses from exhaustion. 2.5 years of training, and he's still stuck at beginner level. The death rate for low-rank students keeps climbing every single year, and he knows exactly which category he falls into. Then, out of nowhere, his hand brushes against an old machine, and everything changes. A blue screen lights up out of thin air, system activating. He almost falls over in shock. It's asking if he wants to claim a newbie gift package. This is the stuff of legend, the exact kind of cheat power people only dream about. And when the system reveals what's inside, he actually goes speechless. S-rank ability. 200 bonus points to spend however he wants. S-rank abilities are so rare that one single person with one gets scooped up by the top universities in the country instantly. This is the kind of luck that rewrites a person's entire destiny. Without hesitating for a second, he reaches out and says one word: claim. Purple lightning explodes out of his body like a bomb going off. Windows shatter. Walls crack. The whole apartment shakes apart around him. Outside, people on the street are staring up at the sky in horror. A colossal dragon made of pure electricity is circling above his building. Soldiers get put on high alert. Someone even calls the fire department. And through all of it, Shu Jing Ming is screaming in agony as raw power tears through every nerve in his body. Then finally, silence. Ability transformation complete. He looks down at his hand, and lightning crackles across his fingertips like it belongs there. This isn't the weak little spark he had before. This feels like something that could level a person in one hit. And this is just the beginning. The system explains those 200 points can level up his body, his skills, basically anything he wants. He pours them straight into his physique and his spirit, the raw foundation every ability is built on. A punch that used to do nothing now rips a hole clean through solid rock. Firefighters actually kick down his door, thinking there's a fire. He just calmly tells them it was training gone a little too well. The next morning, spear on his shoulder, he heads to the local training hall to actually test what he can do. And there, completely by accident, he runs into his cousin Tanji. She barely recognizes him. Something about him feels different now. He finds an empty room, grips his old spear, and realizes it feels lighter than paper in his hands. So he decides to test his raw strength first. No ability, just pure muscle. The strike leaves a spiderweb of cracks across a target built to survive military hits. 321. His physical strength alone just doubled overnight. Then he decides to go all in with his new lightning ability. The number that flashes back nearly knocks the wind out of him. 3021. That's mid-tier first-order territory, and he hasn't even ranked up as an ability user yet. But he's not satisfied, not even close. He stacks everything together. His strength, his lightning, his technique, into a single devastating strike. The explosion that follows shakes the entire training hall to its foundation. Students 2 floors away think it's an earthquake. Tanji and her friends rush over to check it out, only to find total devastation where the target dummy used to be. They have no idea the quiet cousin who just walked past them caused all of it. Back home, exhausted but grinning, Shu Jing Ming pulls up his full status for the first time. Unranked awakened. Purple heaven divine thunder. With the exam only hours away, he knows exactly what he has to do next. Use every last one of these points wisely, because tomorrow he's not just walking into that exam grounds to survive. He's walking in to prove exactly how wrong every single person who ever doubted him really was. The next morning, the sky is clear and the exam grounds stretch out like a ruined battlefield. Students whisper nervously behind the fence, staring at a city crawling with monsters. The commander in charge lays out the rules. 12 hours, 4 zones, points for every kill. Outer, central, inner, and the core, the most dangerous zone of all, reserved for the strongest students. Before the reveal, Shu Jing Ming was told he'd never make it past the outer ring. Now, standing there with his new power, he's already planning to push straight for the core. His teacher hands him his supply pack and gives him one last warning. Your life matters more than any score. His crush Linking offers him a spot on her team, but a jealous classmate objects, calling him dead weight. Shu Jing Ming just smiles and turns them down. He's doing this alone. The gates finally open, and thousands of students flood into the ruined city at once. While everyone else scrambles for easy kills in the outer zone, he heads straight for danger. Minutes in, he stumbles on something horrifying. A dead student, his safety device never even used. It's a brutal reminder of exactly how close he came to that same fate just one day ago. Then a shadow cat lunges out of the dark, claws extended, aiming straight for his throat. One clean thrust of his spear and it's over before it even started. He barely feels the beast's terrifying aura, the same aura that leaves most fighters frozen in fear. Realizing the outer zone is a waste of his time, he pushes deeper, cutting through beast after beast without slowing it down. A massive rhino-like monster charges him head-on, tossing a car aside like it's nothing. He doesn't run. He meets it in the air and drives his spear straight through its skull. His spear technique levels up on the spot, and so does his confidence. By the time his classmate Linking spots his kill, the blood hasn't even dried yet. Her teammates refuse to believe the weakling from their class could possibly be this far into the exam. Then they check the leaderboard, and every single one of them goes silent. 46th place, 256 points, Shu Jing Ming, second high school. Back at the viewing stands, officials are equally stunned, watching an unranked freshman climb faster than anyone they've ever tracked. His own homeroom teacher nearly faints trying to explain how a supposed E-rank reject is doing this. Nobody watching has any idea just how far this kid is about to climb before the day is over. And somewhere out there, a top-ranked rival is starting to notice the name climbing the charts behind him. The exam has barely started, and already, everything anyone thought they knew about Shu Jing Ming is falling apart. Deeper into the ruins, he faces his first real first-order beast, an armored tiger with blades for claws. He toys with it at first, mocking its strength, before ending the fight with one clean spinning strike. The points roll in fast and a new thought hits him. This exam isn't a death trap for him, it's a goldmine. By the time he crosses into the central zone, his name is sitting inside the top 30 on the leaderboard. Teachers and officials in the viewing stands can barely process what they're seeing. One official does the math out loud and realizes he just killed 5 beasts in under 4 seconds flat. Director Zhang, the head of the Education Bureau, starts asking questions nobody can answer. And then the update nobody is. Shu Jing Ming has broken into the top 10. A camera drone locks onto him instantly, and now the entire province is watching live. At the entrance to the core zone, he stumbles on a pack of 9 armored tigers guarding their king. The top-ranked student, Zhou Mingyang, offers to team up. Worried one person can't handle this alone, Shu Jing Ming turns him down flat. No need. With one devastating spin of his spear, half the pack goes down in a single strike. The Tiger King unleashes a roar so powerful it shatters windows blocks away. Shu Jing Ming doesn't even flinch. He leaps down from above and ends the fight in one blow. Zhou Mingyang, watching from hiding, can barely process what he just witnessed. He checks the leaderboard and goes pale. Shu Jing Ming just blew past him into first place. Back in the stands, the whole province is losing their minds over the freshman nobody had ever heard of. Hours later, he reaches the innermost core, and a monster unlike anything else steps out of the ruins. A massive white-furred beast with glowing red eyes and crystal spikes across its back. The other top students see it and immediately want to retreat, calling it a death sentence. Shu Jing Ming walks straight into the horde surrounding it, without a second of hesitation. An explosion of purple lightning tears through the pack, and when the smoke clears, only he is left standing. The Beast King finally moves, and this fight is nothing like the ones before it. It shrugs off strike after strike, its hide too tough for blades and immune to electricity. Then it enters a berserk state, losing all intelligence but doubling its raw power. Shu Jing Ming dodges everything it throws at him, waiting for one perfect opening. He finds it, freezes the beast mid-charge with a lightning bolt, and unleashes everything he has. 9 heavens divine lightning slams down from the sky and lights up the entire battlefield. The beast is down, but not finished. One last desperate lunge, jaws wide open, aims straight at him. He doesn't flinch. Lightning gale break, the final blow. The second-order Beast King collapses for good, and Shu Jing Ming lets out a breath of pure relief. When the exam finally ends, the final scoreboard lights up, and the crowd goes silent. First place 10,835 points. A record that shatters the entire province's history. Officials leap to their feet, cheering a name they couldn't even find in the records a few hours ago. And outside the gates, a massive crowd swarms the exit, all desperate for one look at the new champion. Shu Jing Ming walks out calm, spear over his shoulder, like none of this phases him at all. A sleek black car pulls up, and the education director personally invites him inside. On the ride, the director lays out the top 3 universities in the entire country, and what they offer. Shu Jing Ming listens carefully, already thinking about which one will grow his power the fastest. Back home, his aunt bursts into tears when he finally admits his real score. 11,124 points. The number that turns him into a national headline overnight. Word spreads so fast that the top 3 universities send actual vice principals to fight over him in person. One offers cash, one offers rare training methods, and the third offers something that stops every jaw in the room. An annual dose of blood from an 8th-tier dragon-type beast, a resource almost nobody outside royalty ever touches. Shu Jing Ming doesn't hesitate. He chooses Modu Superpower University, home to the strongest combat program in the Alliance. Weeks later, he boards a train for Magic City, ready to leave his old life completely behind. The moment he steps onto campus, his jaw nearly drops. This place is bigger than entire towns back home. His new dormitory isn't a dorm room. It's a full luxury villa, the biggest one on campus, all because of his score. The vice principal explains the 2 things that run this whole school: credits and mentors. As an S-rank student, he gets 100 credits a year just for existing. Most students would kill for that number. Then comes the mentor system, and Shu Jing Ming already knows exactly who he wants. Dean Yang Gentian, master of the spear, a legend known as the Thunder Spits himself. Other students warn him, it's basically impossible to become the dean's disciple straight out of registration. Shu Jing Ming walks in anyway, unleashes his ability on command, and the dean's jaw drops instantly. Without hesitation, the dean accepts him as his 32nd disciple, and his very first S-rank 1. As a gift, he hands over 2 treasures: a top-tier training method, and a body forging technique he spent his whole life perfecting. An S-rank combat technique called Thunder Indestructible Body, the culmination of the dean's entire career. There's just one catch. He has to break through to true ability user status first. So Shu Jing Ming sits down, activates his system, and forces the breakthrough in less than 24 hours flat. His new master is completely floored. Most geniuses take years to accomplish what he just did overnight. To begin the body forging ritual, the dean pulls out a resource nobody expected: essence blood from an 8th-tier thunder tyrannosaurus. The process is brutal: 5 straight days of agony without a single break for food or rest. At one point, the blood's ferocity nearly consumes his mind completely, and he almost attacks his own senior brother. His master's voice cuts through the bloodlust just in time, snapping him back before disaster strikes. When the forging finally finishes, the results are staggering: a 98% absorption rate, an all-time record. His senior brother, a peak 3rd-order fighter himself, calls him nothing short of a monster. Back at the dorm, he meets his new roommate, a loud and cheerful guy named Lu Wentao. He's a top scorer from another province, and the moment he learns who his roommate is, he loses his mind. Together, they head to the martial arts hall to test out a new punch power leaderboard. Lu Wentao goes first, feeling confident, and gets utterly humiliated. His rank is beyond 100,000. Then it's Shu Jing Ming's turn, and nobody watching expects much from him either. The shockwave from his single punch nearly knocks the crowd off their feet. The number that flashes on the screen shatters a 1st-tier record that stood untouched for over a decade. Older students who were mocking him seconds ago stand there completely speechless. Word spreads overnight, and by morning half the school wants to challenge him. He heads to the Battle Technique Library next, where his S-rank access unlocks doors most students never even see. He picks up 4 A-rank lightning techniques on the spot, a choice that would normally take years to earn. His system lets him master all 4 to a combat-ready level in a single sitting. When Lu Wentao finds out, he nearly falls off the couch. It should take a normal student until their junior year. Days later, at the freshman assembly, a rival student named Leizhou publicly challenges him in front of the entire class. Shu Jing Ming laughs it off, until Leizhou makes the mistake of threatening his aunt's family for money. His expression turns to ice, and a dark aura physically forces Leizhou backward in front of everyone. The duel is set for a week later, broadcast live on the university's main platform. When the day arrives, Leizhou unleashes a powerful A-rank fire ability, confident it will end the fight fast. Shu Jing Ming blocks the entire attack with a single basic swing of his spear. The crowd goes dead silent. Nobody has ever seen a normal strike shatter a special move like that. Refusing to accept defeat, Leizhou swallows a dangerous performance-enhancing pill mid-match, boosting himself 2 full tiers. It barely matters. Shu Jing Ming chains together 4 different combat techniques in seconds flat. Thunder Prison traps him, Chain Thunder Gun rains down on him, and a final spear thrust ends it completely. Leizhou surrenders on the spot, and the crowd calls it one of the most one-sided beatdowns anyone has ever seen. After the match, Shu Jing Ming walks away with a massive cash reward and a newfound reputation across campus. That night, his roommate drags him to a social mixer and two new faces enter his story. Song Chuku, a fierce fighter descended from a legendary grandmaster bloodline, and soon after another woman he'd already met once before, a famous online streamer with an icy reputation. Weeks pass and Shu Jing Ming decides it's time to head into the wilderness to farm ability points. His master warns him the wild is far more dangerous than any exam ground could ever be. Still he sets out, and within a month, he's cleared out an entire county of every single beast inside it. He returns to the supply base carrying over 400 kilograms of beast materials on his back. The sale alone earns him 25 million, turning him into an overnight millionaire without even trying. But someone in that town crosses him, a scammer who tries to threaten him after getting caught. Shu Jing Ming ends the confrontation with a single lightning-fast strike that sends the man flying through stone. Unfortunately for that scammer, he happens to have powerful and very vengeful friends. An elite mercenary squad gets sent after him, 4 hardened Tier 2 fighters hunting a supposed easy target. The moment they scan his real aura, their leader realizes something is horribly wrong with their intelligence. They abort the mission instantly, terrified of what they almost walked into. Furious about the failed hit, the local management orders an execution to cover their tracks. The base's true authority steps in and Shu Jing Ming receives a formal apology and a priceless space ring as compensation. With his master's name behind him, even the strongest men in this town treat him like royalty. Deeper into the wilderness, he saves a stranded streamer named Zhang Chuquan from a beast about to kill her. Grateful and stunned by his strength, she decides to travel alongside him for safety. Together, they stumble onto something incredible, a hidden legendary healing spring, worth a small fortune. But her own hired bodyguards turn on them both the moment they spot the treasure. What follows is a total massacre. Shu Jing Ming dismantles the entire elite squad without breaking a sweat. In desperation, Zhang Chuquan swallows a dangerous power pill and fights alongside him anyway. Later its brutal side effects hit her hard, and Shu Jing Ming has to carry her to safety himself. Their bond deepens fast and by the time they part ways, she's clearly falling for him. On the way back, a massive rat tide, over 300,000 strong, nearly traps them both. He activates his most dangerous form yet, demonic horns and all, and cuts a path straight through the swarm. Military forces watching the chaos assume they're witnessing a monster attack, not a single teenage student. They make it out alive, exhausted, but safe, and their bond only grows stronger from the ordeal. Back at campus, Shu Jing Ming learns his ability points have piled up into the thousands. He heads straight to the library to master an S-rank combat technique called Heavenly Thunder Art. Not long after, Song Chuku challenges him to their long-promised sparring match. She's confident, having advanced hard while he was away. It doesn't matter one bit. He dismantles her signature technique with a single casual parry, leaving her utterly stunned. In that moment, something shifts between them, and before either of them realizes it, they're officially together. Not long after, in a twist that catches even him off guard, Song Chuku insists on sharing him with Zhang Chuka too. Both women agree to it without hesitation, and just like that, his love life gets a lot more complicated. Meanwhile, the freshman competition is finally approaching, a 100-person battle royale with massive stakes. On the opening day, the whole campus turns out to watch, including 2 university club presidents scouting for talent. The vice principal reveals something shocking to the entire crowd. Among this freshman class stands one true S-rank student. Everyone assumes it's just rumor until Shu Jing Ming steps onto the arena floor. His opponents team up in a desperate attempt to take him down together, believing numbers might finally even the odds. He wipes out over 100 students in a single round, a record that instantly shatters everything before it. Students who mocked him weeks ago now stare in complete disbelief at what they just witnessed. Round after round his friends advance too, but nothing compares to the chaos his captain leaves behind. In the final bracket he crushes a rival named Cheng Si so thoroughly, the boy nearly passes out from pure fear. When it's all over he claims first place, taking home a massive prize haul and instant campus-wide fame. Not long after, disaster strikes during a routine harvesting trip deep in a restricted plantation zone. A hidden cult called the Heaven's Mandate sect ambushes the entire freshman group without warning. Their leader traps everyone inside a devastating spatial barrier, cutting off any hope of outside rescue. Shu Jing Ming faces down a demonic cult enforcer who's forcibly absorbed forbidden god's blood. Outnumbered and pushed to the very edge, he makes a desperate gamble on his own system. With his ability points finally crossing 50,000, he forces an emergency evolution mid-battle. Golden lightning erupts around him as his S-rank ability transforms into something far beyond it. His purple thunder becomes something new entirely. SS-rank Dushan Divine Lightning, a power barely seen once a decade. One blast wipes out his enemy completely, and the entire cult squad falls apart in seconds after. The 3 vice principals finally break through the barrier, and the true archbishop flees rather than face them. Hundreds of students still lost their lives that day, and the university declares total war on the cult. Determined to grow even stronger, Shu Jing Ming starts accepting dangerous solo missions against the sect. He takes down entire branches single-handedly, earning a title that spreads across campus like wildfire, the Thunder Emperor, a name that starts showing up in national news broadcasts within weeks. During one particularly brutal mission, he uncovers a horrifying lab breeding forbidden gods blood soldiers. He tears through every single one of them without mercy, refusing to let such cruelty continue. For his efforts, he's granted access to a legendary resource called the Thunder Secret Realm. It's a hidden training ground packed with lightning beasts, strong enough to push even elite fighters to their limits. Inside, he fights non-stop for nearly 6 full days without a single moment of rest. He breaks through to a whole new combat tier and drops a storm-type beast far above his own level. An instructor secretly records the entire fight, calling it the most terrifying display he's ever witnessed from a freshman. But danger follows him even here. A jealous heiress tries to have him assassinated over a bidding war loss. Her entire hit squad falls in seconds, and her enraged brother arrives seeking bloody revenge. He falls just as fast, and their father, a furious Tier 7 master, nearly kills Shu Jing Ming out of grief and rage. Just before disaster strikes, a branch master intervenes, and the entire feud finally comes to an end. Then, out of nowhere, a real threat emerges. Disguised Tier 8 cult archbishop reveals himself for a final assassination attempt. Shu Jing Ming crushes his emergency protection talisman, and his vice principal arrives in an instant to save him. Their battle levels an entire section of the secret realm before she finally claims victory. As a reward for surviving it all, she hands him something even rarer, a second priceless protection talisman. Later, a shadowy figure from the National Council personally visits, sealing his mind against future psychic attacks. The council member reveals just how rare his talent truly is, fewer than 50 SS rank users recorded in 2 centuries. Not long after, Shu Jing Ming is named team captain for the upcoming National University League. To finally test his true combat power, Su School sends him into a brutal virtual training simulation. He shatters record after record, clearing floors faster than anyone the school has seen in 100 years. He even breaks through the wall that killed a legendary genius from a century ago, and keeps climbing further. Word of his 1 million combat power score spreads across the entire campus within hours. Finally, the day of the tournament arrives, and Shu Jing Ming's team departs to represent their university on the national stage. On arrival, a rival student harasses cousin at the train station, and Shu Jing Ming ends the confrontation with one brutal strike. The opening match against a weaker school ends before it even really begins, his opponents defeated in seconds flat. Match after match, his team stays undefeated, sweeping through every rival school placed in front of them. Word finally reaches Jing University, and their staff runs a scan on his true power out of pure suspicion. What they discover shocks the entire tournament. His registered ability is a lie. He's secretly SS rank. News breaks nationally within hours, and suddenly every major faction in the country wants a piece of him. A recruiter representing a global superpower even offers him citizenship and unlimited wealth to defect entirely. He turns her down flat without hesitation, refusing to abandon his own homeland for any price. In the individual tournament, he demolishes every single opponent, most in less than a single minute. The final showdown pits him against Jing University's ace, a Tier 4 powerhouse with year experience. The two clash violently, shaking the entire stadium with every strike, until Shu Jing Ming lands the decisive blow. He claims the individual championship, sending the entire crowd into an absolute frenzy. The next day in the team finals, 2 rival schools secretly join forces just to try and stop him. It doesn't matter one bit. He tears through their combined defense in a single overwhelming assault. His team claims the championship trophy, completing a clean sweep of every single event in the tournament. A legendary Tier 9 master personally invites him to join her elite martial arts hall as her disciple. He politely declines for now, choosing to stay loyal to the university that believed in him from day one. With his identity fully exposed to the world, he decides it's time for a new kind of mission entirely. A set of ancient civilization ruins is opening soon, hiding treasures and secrets far beyond anything he's touched so far. Disguising his face and masking his lightning signature, he sets off for a foreign nation to claim his entry pass. On the voyage over, a swarm of sea beasts attacks the ship without warning. He wipes out wave after wave with barely any effort, stunning every elite trainee watching in disbelief. Word of a mysterious Tier 4 rookie with an impossible lightning range spreads across the ship within hours. Upon arrival, he learns a rival nation's martial hall has already issued a secret kill order against him. They have no idea what he actually looks like now, and he intends to keep it that way. Standing at the gates of the ruins disguised and hunted, He prepares to step into the most dangerous test of his life yet, and somewhere behind him, an elite squad is already watching every unfamiliar face in the crowd. Every step he's taken up to this point, from beast tides to cult armies, has led him to this exact moment. This is where his story picks up its next great chapter, but let's rewind for a second and look at just how far he's actually come. Because if you strip away every flashy explosion, the real story here is about a kid who refused to accept the label everyone gave him. Trash, weakling, E-rank reject. That's what the world called him on day one. Every single person around him, teachers, classmates, even the girl who liked him, told him to play it safe. And he had every reason to listen. The odds were brutal, and the risk was real. But he had already lived through the worst outcome once before, watching helplessness take everything from him. So when a second chance landed in his lap, he didn't hesitate for a single second. What makes this story hit different isn't just the power fantasy. It's the discipline behind every single leap forward. He didn't just get handed strength and coast on it. He trained through exhaustion, pain, and constant near-death situations. Every breakthrough came wrapped in real risk. A wilderness that could kill him. A cult that wanted him dead. Rivals with real grudges. And through every single one of those threats, he never once ran from a fight he could actually win. That instinct, knowing exactly when to charge and when to hold back, might be his sharpest weapon of all. Remember that scene with the tiger pack? He turned down help from the top-ranked student without blinking. Not out of arrogance. He genuinely understood his own limits better than anyone watching him. That same mindset carried him through the Beast King fight, the cult ambush, and every tournament match after. Confidence built on actual preparation instead of blind luck. That's the difference between him and every rival he's crushed. And here's the thing. His enemies keep making the exact same mistake over and over. They judge him by his old reputation: E-rank, trash, unranked freshman. By the time they realize what they're actually dealing with, it's already far too late to change the outcome. Take Lijo, the rival who tried to strong-arm him with threats against his family. He thought a little intimidation would be enough to bully a supposed weakling into backing down. Instead, he ended up humiliated in front of the entire freshman class, his own pride shattered on live broadcast. Or take that scammer at the supply base, who thought a random newcomer was an easy target for extortion. That single decision triggered a chain reaction that got an entire mercenary squad and a corrupt manager executed. Underestimating Shu Jing Ming has become the single most dangerous mistake anyone in this story can make. And it's not just enemies learning that lesson the hard way. His allies keep getting surprised too. His own master, a man who's trained countless disciples over decades, still can't believe how fast he grows. Every single time Shu Jing Ming shows up with a new breakthrough, the reaction is the exact same: complete disbelief, followed by a slow dawning realization that they might be looking at something historic. His senior brother Lu Ming put it best: life and death crises that would break other fighters seem to fuel him instead. Where most people would freeze up, facing a Tier 7 Grandmaster or a beast 3 ranks above them, he leans in harder. That's not recklessness though. It's calculated aggression, backed by a system that rewards exactly this kind of risk-taking. Every kill, every close call, every brutal fight adds fuel to a cheat that's already terrifyingly efficient. And that's the real engine behind this whole story. A boy who refuses to waste a single ounce of opportunity. While his classmates were resting after the exam, he was already back in the training hall. While his rivals were celebrating small victories, he was farming ability points in the middle of a dangerous wilderness. While entire universities fought bidding wars over his talent, he was quietly calculating which school would grow him fastest. There's a version of this story where he lets the fame go to his head. That's not this version. Even after becoming a national headline, even after multiple universities threw fortunes at him, he stayed focused on one thing: getting stronger, one calculated breakthrough at a time, no matter how much danger stood between him and the next level. Now let's talk about the people around him, because this isn't a story that leaves everyone else behind. His cousin Tanji went from mildly concerned to fiercely protective the moment she pieced together who was really behind that destruction. His roommate Lu Wentao turned from a stranger into one of his most loyal friends within days of meeting him. And his master Dean Yang Gentian treats him less like a student and more like the son he never expected to find. Even his rivals, once they get past the initial shock, start showing genuine respect for what he's built. Zhou Mingyang, the top scorer who once mocked him from a distance, ends up quietly grateful just to have witnessed his rise. That's the mark of a well-earned reputation. Even the people who lose to him end up admiring him. Now think back to where this all started. A quiet classroom, a chalkboard countdown, and a teacher's grim warning. Nobody in that room, not even Shu Jing Ming himself, could have predicted the scale of what was coming. One exam turned into a provincial record. One record turned into a bidding war between 3 elite universities. One university turned into a legendary mentor, One mentor turned into an S-rank combat technique, and every single step along the way his own hard work matched the power of that system perfectly. Because here's the truth this story keeps hammering home: a cheat means nothing without the will to use it fully. Plenty of people in his position would have coasted on raw power alone and stopped pushing. Shu Jing Ming never stopped pushing, not after the exam, not after the university acceptance, not after the championship. Every victory just became the starting line for the next challenge he was already planning to chase. That relentless hunger is exactly what turned an E-rank reject into a national sensation known as the Thunder Emperor. And it's exactly what's carrying him now toward the most dangerous test of his entire life, a set of ancient ruins guarded by hidden killers. Let's break down exactly what's waiting for him there, because this next chapter changes the stakes completely. The ruins in question belong to a lost civilization, one that existed long before the modern world as anyone knows it. Every major training method, every advanced piece of technology, every powerful combat technique traces back to sites just like this one. Getting inside requires a rare entry pass, and only a limited number exist for the entire opening window. Shu Jing Ming secured his by trading in a valuable resource he had no personal use for anymore. It's a decision that ended up being far smarter than he could have guessed at the time, because inside those ruins waits something no amount of ability points alone could ever prepare him for. A 30,000 square kilometer pocket dimension, guarded by beasts stronger than anything in the tournament he just conquered. Beasts up to tier 6 roam freely inside, far above the danger level of the wilderness he's used to hunting. For most students, this would be a straight-up death sentence. For him it's just another opportunity in disguise. But beasts aren't the only threat waiting for him this time. Human enemies are actively hunting for his name. A hostile martial arts hall in a rival nation has already issued a secret order to have him eliminated. They're terrified of what a fully grown SS-rank talent could mean for the balance of global power. So Shu Jing Ming does something clever. He masters a rare concealment technique to hide his true energy signature completely. To anyone scanning him, he now reads as a standard A-rank lightning user, nothing worth a second glance. It's the perfect disguise, one that lets him slip past enemy eyes while he hunts for treasure undisturbed. He even secures a temporary teleportation tool, a rare beast bone capable of moving him up to 200 kilometers in an instant. It's an emergency escape option, one he desperately hopes he never has to actually use. Because if things go sideways in a foreign land, there's no vice principal ready to teleport in and save him this time. He's completely on his own here, disguised, hunted, and walking straight into a battlefield thousands of kilometers from home. And somehow that doesn't scare him one bit. If anything, it excites him. New territory means new beasts, new ability points, and new techniques he's never had access to before. On the voyage over, that excitement pays off immediately. A swarm of sea monsters attacks the ship without warning. While elite trainees from 2 rival martial arts halls panic and scramble for position, he handles it alone. Wave after wave of beasts get wiped out with barely any visible effort on his part. The other passengers start whispering about a mysterious rookie with a lightning range that shouldn't be possible at his rank. An elite recruiter even tries to poach him for their training camp, completely unaware he's already been personally scouted by their own leader. He politely declines, keeping his cover intact, and quietly stacks up thousands of ability points in the process. By the time the ship docks, he's already stronger than he was when he left home just days earlier. Walking through the city toward the ruins, he catches sight of a striking figure stepping out of a luxury vehicle. She's known as the Holy Maiden, an elite summoner rumored to be one of the strongest young fighters in the entire nation. He doesn't know it yet, but her fate is far more tangled up in dark political games than she'd like anyone to see. Behind closed doors, powerful factions are already plotting how to use these ruins to their own advantage. A corrupt official has secretly agreed to help a foreign empire hunt down any threat to their growing influence. And that threat has a name attached to it, whispered nervously in every closed-door meeting across the region. Shu Jing Ming, the SS-rank prodigy, is the single biggest target on their entire list. They have no idea he's already standing among them, disguised, unnoticed, and gathering strength right under their eyes. It's a dangerous game of cat and mouse, except the mouse just happens to be stronger than every cat in the room. And as the gates to the ruins finally creak open, hundreds of competitors from every corner of the world funnel inside. Somewhere in that crowd, hidden behind a stranger's face, walks a boy who started this journey as a supposed reject. Now he's stepping into ancient ruins packed with tier 6 monsters and enemy assassins hunting his real identity. If there's one thing this entire journey has proven so far, it's that betting against Shu Jing Ming is never a smart move. Every enemy who's ever underestimated him has walked away shocked, humiliated, or completely defeated. Every ally who's ever doubted his limits has ended up watching him shatter records they thought were untouchable. and every single obstacle placed in front of him has somehow only made him stronger by the time he walks out the other side. From a kid holding a registration form nobody wanted him to sign, to a national headline known as the Thunder Emperor, from a weak E-rank spark that couldn't power a stun gun, to golden lightning strong enough to level entire arenas, from a lonely orphan with nothing but a spear and a memory of loss, to a young man with 2 loyal partners standing beside him. Every twist in this story keeps circling back to the same simple truth: power alone was never really the point. It was always about a boy refusing to accept the ceiling everyone else was so determined to put over his head. That refusal, more than any lightning bolt or ability point, is what's carried him this far. And it's exactly what's about to carry him through whatever nightmare is waiting inside these ancient ruins, next. Because somewhere deep in that 30,000 square kilometer dimension, treasures older than recorded history are waiting to be claimed. Alongside them wait beasts strong enough to challenge Tier 6 fighters, and assassins hungry to end his story right here. If his track record means anything at all, none of that is going to be enough to stop him. Somewhere out there, an entire rival hall is scrambling to figure out where he's actually hiding. They're checking energy signatures, cross-referencing suspicious newcomers, doing everything short of storming every hotel room in the city. Meanwhile, the person they're hunting is standing in plain sight, blending into a crowd of nervous competitors. The irony of it all would almost be funny if the stakes weren't quite so high. Because make no mistake, a single slip in that disguise could turn this from a treasure hunt into an all-out war zone. But if there's one thing we've learned from watching this kid claw his way up from nothing, it's this: he doesn't slip, he adapts, he calculates, and then he strikes at exactly the right moment. That pattern held true against a tiger pack, against a beast king, against an entire cult, and against a tournament full of geniuses. There's no reason to expect ancient ruins full of secrets to be the exception to that rule. If anything, this feels like the next natural test in a journey built entirely on impossible odds. Let's take a step back one more time and really appreciate the scale of what this story has built so far. In less than a year, a kid went from failing to even qualify for a normal exam to holding a national championship trophy. In less than a year, he went from a lonely orphan with no real family left, to having a mentor, a cousin, and 2 partners who all fiercely care about him. In less than a year, his ability rank climbed from a joke of an E-rank spark, all the way to a legendary SSS rank of golden lightning. Every single one of those jumps came soaked in sweat, blood, and constant brushes with death along the way. That's what separates this story from a simple power fantasy. The growth actually feels earned every single step of the way. Sure, the system gave him a massive head start, but a head start only matters if you actually run the race. And Shu Jing Ming has been running flat out since the very first line of this recap, never once slowing down. Now he's standing at the entrance of an ancient ruin, disguised, hunted, and completely unbothered by either fact. Somewhere in that crowd, powerful figures from around the world are about to get a very rude awakening, because the reject they think they're hunting for isn't a reject anymore. He never really was, not deep down. He was always the same person underneath the weak E-rank ability, the same resolve, the same refusal to quit. The system just gave that resolve a weapon powerful enough to finally match it. And now that weapon is walking through ancient ruins that predate recorded history itself, hunting treasures beyond imagination. Whatever waits for him inside, based on everything we've seen so far, one outcome feels almost guaranteed. He's going to walk out stronger than he walked in, exactly like he has every single time before. Let's take one final look at the bigger picture here, because this story is really about identity as much as power. Every label thrown at him: on trash, weakling, dead weight, none of it ever actually described who he was. It only described what people assumed based on a single number attached to his ability rank. The moment that number changed, so did every single opinion around him almost overnight. And that's a pretty pointed lesson. Buried underneath all the lightning strikes and beast kills, people will judge you by the smallest visible piece of who you are, whether that's fair or not. The real difference gets made by what you actually do once nobody expects anything from you at all. Shu Jing Ming didn't wait for permission to prove himself. He trained for 2.5 years before the system ever showed up. That grind, unglamorous, unnoticed, and completely thankless, is what turned a lucky system drop into a legendary story. Because without that foundation of discipline, even the most broken cheat power might have gone completely to waste. Instead, it landed on exactly the right person, someone who already knew how to work for every single inch of progress. That combination, raw talent paired with relentless discipline, is what's carried him from a ruined classroom all the way to ancient ruins overseas. And it's exactly what's about to carry him through whatever comes next, hidden identity and all. So as the gates finally open and the crowd surges forward into the unknown, keep one thing in mind. This isn't the end of his story, it's barely even the middle of it. Every arc so far has just been another stepping stone towards something bigger. Another test proving the same simple point. Underestimate Shu Jing Ming at your own risk, because he's earned every single bit of power he's carrying now. From an E-rank reject nobody believed in, to an SS rank legend that entire nations are now scrambling to either recruit or eliminate. That's the journey we've followed so far. And it's only getting more intense from here. Let's zoom back in on the moment itself, because this is where the next chapter of his legend truly begins. The massive gates of the ruins groan open, releasing a wave of ancient stale air that hasn't moved in centuries. Hundreds of competitors surge forward, weapons ready, eyes darting nervously between rivals and unknown dangers ahead. Among them, disguised and quiet, walks the boy who's already survived everything this world has thrown at him. Behind that ordinary, unremarkable face hides golden lightning powerful enough to level entire military outposts. Nobody around him has any idea just how dangerous the stranger standing beside them actually is. And that's exactly how he wants it, at least for now, while he scouts the terrain and gathers his bearings. Somewhere deep inside these ruins wait treasures that could push his power even further beyond what anyone thought possible. Somewhere deep inside also wait beasts strong enough to threaten even a tier 4 fighter of his caliber. And somewhere in this very crowd, enemies hunting his real identity are watching every unfamiliar face with suspicion. It's the perfect setup for another chapter of chaos, danger, and inevitable, explosive growth. If there's one lesson this entire story keeps repeating over and over, it's simple. Danger has never once stopped this kid. If anything, danger has always been the exact thing that makes him stronger. Beast tides, cult ambushes, rival assassins, tournament finals against tier 4 powerhouses. None of it has slowed him down. Every single crisis has become fuel, every close call has become another lesson, feeding directly into his growth. So whatever waits behind the next stone corridor, whatever ancient guardian or hidden trap lurks in the shadows ahead, one thing feels certain. Shu Jing Ming didn't come all this way to back down now, disguise or no disguise. He came here to grow stronger, to claim treasures worthy of his rank, and to prove once again that betting entims is a losing game. Let's think about what's actually at stake for him personally as he steps through those gates. Back home, an entire university is counting on him to keep dominating tournaments and defending their reputation. Back home, two partners are waiting anxiously for updates, fully unaware he's walking straight into a hostile foreign kill order. Back home, a master who treats him like a son is trusting him to come back in one piece. Every one of those relationships adds real weight to every decision he makes inside these dangerous ruins. This isn't just about personal glory anymore, it's about proving he can carry that weight and still come out on top. And based on everything we've watched him overcome so far, betting against that outcome would be a serious mistake. Because every single time this story has raised the stakes, Shu Jing Ming has risen to match them and then some. From a classroom nobody believed in, to a beast-infested exam ground, to a national tournament, to ancient ruins across the sea. Each new arena has been bigger, more dangerous and more consequential than the one before it. And each single time, he's walked out stronger, wealthier, and with an even more terrifying reputation trailing behind him. That trend isn't breaking now, not with an entire dimension of hidden treasure and danger stretched out ahead of him. Somewhere inside those ruins, another piece of his legend is already waiting to be written. And if history is any indicator, it's going to be one of the most explosive chapters yet. Let's think for a second about just how much has changed since that first hook we opened with. Back then he was a nobody sneered at by his own classmates, barely tolerated by teachers who feared for his life. Now an entire country tracks his tournament scores, and rival nations plot secretly against his very existence. Back then his ability could barely power a stun baton, a joke compared to real fighters around him. Now his lightning has leveled training halls, wiped out cult armies, and shattered a tournament record older than a century. Back then he had nobody left in the world, an orphan clinging to a painful memory of loss. Now he's got a master who treats him like family, a loyal roommate, a devoted cousin, and two partners who genuinely adore him. Every single piece of that transformation traces directly back to one single decision made on a quiet, desperate night. The choice to take the martial arts exam, despite every single person around him telling him to play it safe. That one decision, made out of grief and determination rather than any system or cheat power, started everything. The system amplified what was already there: talent, resolve, and a refusal to ever feel powerless again. That's really the heart of this entire story. Buried underneath every explosive lightning strike and tournament victory. A boy who lost everything once and swore he'd never let that happen again no matter the cost. And now, standing at the edge of an ancient civilization's ruins, that same resolve is about to be tested one more time. New beasts, new treasures, Same unbreakable determination driving him forward every single step. If you've made it this far into his story, you already know exactly how this next chapter is going to go. He's going to face danger nobody else in that crowd could possibly survive. He's going to face enemies who have no idea what they're actually walking into. And somewhere along the way, he's going to walk out stronger, richer, and with an even more terrifying legend attached to his name. Because that's simply who Shu Jing Ming has become. Not a reject, not trash, not an easy target. A legend in the making. Forged through beast tides, cult wars, tournament finals, and now, ancient ruins across the world. Every enemy who's underestimated him has paid dearly for that mistake, and this next set of enemies won't be any different. Every ally who's doubted his limits has ended up watching him shatter expectations they didn't even know they had. And every single obstacle standing between him and his goal has only ever made him hungrier for the next challenge. That hunger, more than any lightning bolt, more than any ability point, is what truly defines this story. A boy who refused to stay down, who refused to accept a label he never actually deserved. A boy who turned pain into power, and power into a legacy that's still being written with every single chapter. As those ancient gates close behind him and the ruins swallow him whole, one thing remains absolutely certain. Whatever waits inside, no matter how ancient, no matter how dangerous, is about to meet the exact same fate as everyone before it. Complete and utter underestimation, followed by the shock of realizing exactly who they were dealing with all along. This is the story of Shu Jing Ming, the boy the world called trash, and the legend that name could never actually contain. From a broken E-rank ability to a golden storm capable of shaking entire nations, his climb has been nothing short of relentless. From a lonely orphan clutching a painful memory, to a young man surrounded by people who genuinely love and respect him. From a classroom where nobody believed in him, to ancient ruins where entire empires now fear his very name. Every step of that journey was earned through sweat, blood, sacrifice, and a will that simply refused to break. And every single person who ever doubted him along the way has had to eat those doubts, one crushing defeat at a time. The tournament trophies are already his, the championship titles are already secured, the reputation is already legendary. But this story isn't finished, not by a long shot, because a boy this hungry never really stops climbing. Somewhere beyond those ancient gates, new treasures wait to push his power to heights nobody's ever reached before. Somewhere beyond those ancient gates, new enemies wait to learn the exact same lesson every previous enemy learned. Underestimating Shu Jing Ming isn't just a mistake, it's the single most dangerous decision anyone in this world can make. So as we close out this chapter of his story, remember exactly where it all started. A quiet classroom, a chalkboard countdown, a teacher's warning nobody expected him to actually ignore, and a boy who decided, right then and there, that he would rather risk everything than accept a life of being powerless again. That decision changed everything. It changed his family, his future, his reputation, and eventually, the fate of an entire province. It turned a supposed reject into a national hero and an E-rank joke into an SS rank storm nobody can ignore. And as he steps deeper into ancient ruins hidden across the world, that same fire is still burning inside him, still hungry, still relentless, still absolutely refusing to accept any ceiling placed above him. Because that's who Shu Jing Ming really is, underneath every lightning bolt and every shattered record. Not a reject, not trash, not a weakling who got lucky with a cheat system. A survivor, a fighter, a legend forged through relentless determination and a refusal to ever feel powerless again. And whatever comes next in this incredible, explosive story, one thing remains absolutely certain beyond any doubt: he's only getting started. Let's rewind just once more, back to that quiet apartment where a system window flickered to life in the dark. A frightened teenager, alone with nothing but spear and a painful memory, staring at an offer too good to refuse. He could have hesitated. He could have questioned it, doubted it, wasted precious time second-guessing his own luck. Instead, without a shred of fear, he reached out his hand and simply said one word: claim. That single moment of courage, more than the ability itself, is really what set this entire legend into motion. Because power without the will to seize it is completely meaningless, wasted potential gathering dust in the dark. Shu Jing Ming never let potential gather dust. Every single opportunity that crossed his path got seized instantly and fully. The gift package, the exam, the mentor, the wilderness, the tournament, the ruins, every single one claimed without hesitation. That pattern isn't luck. It's character, built through years of quiet struggle long before any system ever appeared. And it's exactly that character carrying him forward now, disguised and hunted, deep inside an ancient civilization's secrets. Somewhere in that crowd of competitors, a hostile empire's agents are scanning every stranger with growing suspicion. They have no idea the exact person they're hunting is standing calmly among them, completely unbothered by the danger, because after everything he's survived, cult armies, tournament finals, beast kings, betrayal, and near-death encounters. This is just another Tuesday. Whatever ancient guardians or hidden traps wait inside those ruins, they're facing a fighter who's never once backed down. Whatever rival assassins are lurking in the shadows, they're hunting a target who's already survived far worse threats. And whatever treasures lie buried beneath centuries of dust, they're about to belong to exactly the right person to claim them. Because that's simply how this story has always worked. From the very first lightning strike to this exact moment, danger arrives, Shu Jing Ming meets it head-on, and somehow every single time he walks away stronger than before. That formula has carried him from a failing E-rank student to a legendary SS rank fighter feared across multiple nations. And there's absolutely no reason to expect ancient ruins full of secrets to be the exception to that unbroken pattern. So let the gates close behind him. Let the ancient dust settle around his footsteps. Somewhere deep inside, a new chapter of his legend is already waiting to be written in golden lightning. And knowing exactly who's walking through those halls, that chapter is guaranteed to be absolutely explosive. Now let's talk about what really made this story stand out from every other underdog tale you've ever heard. It wasn't just the power scaling, though that alone is genuinely jaw-dropping to watch unfold in real time. It was the fact that every single victory came with real tangible cost attached to it. 5 days of agony forging his body technique, constant near-death encounters in the wilderness, betrayal from people who should have protected him. Nothing in this story felt handed to him, even with a broken cheat system quietly working in the background. Every reward was earned through blood, sweat, and a willingness to walk directly into danger most people would avoid entirely. That's what separates a genuinely compelling story from a hollow power fantasy with nothing real underneath it. And it's exactly what makes his current situation, disguised and hunted inside ancient ruins, feel so genuinely tense. Because we already know he's strong enough to survive. That's never really been in question at this point. The real question is what he loses along the way, and what new bonds or rivalries he forms in the process. Maybe a new mentor waits somewhere in those ruins, ready to teach him secrets from a civilization lost to history. Maybe a new rival emerges, someone strong enough to actually push him to his absolute limit for the first time. Maybe the holy maiden he crossed paths with becomes an unexpected ally against the very empire trying to control her. Whatever direction this next chapter takes, one thing is certain based on everything we've watched him accomplish so far. It's going to be intense, it's going to be dangerous, and it's going to push his legend even further than before. Because that's simply the pattern this story has followed from its very first line all the way to this exact moment. Rise from nothing. Face impossible odds, shatter every expectation, repeat on an ever larger and more dangerous stage. And through every single cycle of that pattern, one constant has never once wavered or broken down. The boy who refused to be called trash, refused to accept a ceiling he never actually deserved. Shu Jing Ming, the Thunder Emperor, walking straight into ancient history with golden lightning at his fingertips. So let's take a breath here and really sit with how far this journey has actually carried him. A boy who was told point blank that he shouldn't even bother showing up to his own exam. A boy whose own crush suggested he play it safe rather than risk his life chasing real strength. That same boy walked out of that exam as the highest scorer his entire province had ever recorded. That same boy became the personally chosen disciple of one of the strongest masters at an elite university. That same boy shattered punch power records that had stood untouched for over a decade before he even arrived. That same boy survived a rat tie, a corrupt martial hall, a jealous heiress, and an entire cult's assassination attempts. That same boy evolved an ability so rare, fewer than 50 people alive have ever recorded reaching that same level. That same boy swept an entire national tournament, claiming individual team and survival championships all in one run. And that same boy is now standing inside ancient ruins on foreign soil, disguised, hunted, and completely unbothered by any of it. Every single step of that transformation traces back to one simple, unshakable truth about who he really is. He never once let anyone else define his limits, no matter how loudly the world insisted on doing exactly that. Every insult thrown his way became fuel. Every doubt became motivation. Every danger became another opportunity to prove himself. That mindset didn't come from the system. It came from a boy who lost everything once and refused to ever feel that powerless again. The system simply gave that unbreakable resolve the tools it needed to finally match its own ambition. And together, that combination built one of the most explosive rises this world has ever witnessed. From a failing E-rank student to an SS rank legend hunted and courted by entire nations across the globe. That's not luck. That's not simply a cheat power doing all the work behind the scenes. That's discipline, courage, and an absolute refusal to accept a label he never actually deserved in the first place. So as we close out this recap and leave him standing at the edge of ancient unexplored ruins, remember this. This isn't the end of his story. It's simply the next chapter in a legend that keeps growing bigger every single time. Every threat that's ever stood in his way has eventually become another stepping stone toward his next breakthrough. Every enemy who's ever underestimated him has walked away shocked, humiliated, or completely defeated in the aftermath. Every ally who's ever doubted his limits has ended up watching him shatter records they didn't even know existed. And somewhere deep inside those ancient ruins, another impossible challenge is already waiting to test him one more time. Based on everything we've watched him overcome so far, betting against him has never once been a smart move. Not against the Tiger Pack, not against the Beast King, not against a cult army or an entire tournament of geniuses, and certainly not against whatever ancient guardians or hidden dangers wait behind the next stone corridor ahead of him. Because that's simply who Shu Jing Ming has become through every single trial this story has thrown his way. Not a reject anymore, not trash, not an easy target for anyone foolish enough to underestimate him. A legend forged in beast tide, cult wars, tournament victories, and now, secrets buried beneath ancient civilizations. A boy who turned every single moment of doubt into fuel for the next impossible breakthrough. A boy who refused to stay powerless and built himself into a storm nobody in this world can afford to ignore. From a broken E-rank spark barely strong enough to power a stun baton to golden lightning capable of leveling entire arenas. From a lonely orphan with nothing left in the world, to a young man surrounded by people who genuinely love him. From a classroom where nobody believed in him, to ancient ruins where entire empires now fear his very name. Every single piece of that transformation was earned, one brutal, hard-fought victory at a time. And that, more than any lightning bolt or shattered record, is what truly makes this story worth telling. A reminder that the labels other people give you were never actually the whole truth about who you really are. Shu Jing Ming proved that over and over again, from a ruined exam ground all the way to ancient historical ruins. And whatever comes next in his story, wherever this legend continues to grow from here, one thing remains absolutely certain. He earned every single bit of that power, every single ally standing beside him, and every single moment of respect. Nothing about his rise was handed to him without cost, nothing about his legend came easy. And that's exactly why watching him walk through those ancient gates feels less like the start of new danger. It feels like the start of another inevitable victory, another chapter in a legend built on relentless, unbreakable resolve. So somewhere out there, hidden enemies are still scanning the crowd, hunting for a target they'll never actually find in time. Somewhere out there, ancient guardians are still waiting, unaware of exactly who's about to walk through their doors. Somewhere out there, treasures older than recorded history are about to belong to exactly the right person to claim them. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a boy the world once called trash keeps proving them all wrong, one breakthrough at a time, one shattered record at a time, one impossible victory at a time. That's the story of Shu Jing Ming, and that's exactly why this journey has been so genuinely satisfying to follow. Not because power alone makes a good story, but because that power was built on something real underneath it. Grief transformed into resolve, doubt transformed into fuel, weakness transformed into a storm nobody can ignore anymore. That transformation is complete now, standing tall in ancient ruins, ready to claim whatever comes next. And based on everything we've watched him survive so far, there's no reason to expect anything less than total victory. Because that's simply who he is now, forged through every single trial this incredible story has thrown at him. The boy nobody believed in, the reject nobody wanted at the exam, the E-rank joke everyone dismissed instantly. Gone completely, replaced by a legend that entire nations now watch with a careful mixture of fear and respect. So as those ancient ruins finally swallow him whole, disguised, hunted, and utterly unafraid, remember exactly how this all began. A quiet apartment, a flickering system window, a frightened boy who decided courage mattered more than safety. That single decision changed absolutely everything, and it's still changing everything with every single step he takes forward. Somewhere deep inside those ruins, his next breakthrough is already waiting to be earned. Somewhere deep inside those ruins, his next enemy is already about to learn a very painful lesson. Somewhere deep inside those ruins, another piece of his incredible legend is about to be written into history itself. And when the dust finally settles, when the ancient guardians fall and the hidden enemies are exposed, one truth remains. Shu Jing Ming, once called trash, once dismissed as unworthy of even taking the exam, walks away stronger every single time. That's not a prediction based on hope. That's a pattern proven over and over, from his very first fight to his very last. A boy who refused to be defined by a single number, and built himself into something the entire world now watches carefully. From weakness to power, from loneliness to loyalty, from doubt to an unbreakable legend that keeps rising higher. That's the true heart of this incredible story, buried beneath every lightning strike and every shattered record. A reminder that where you start never has to determine where you finish, if you're willing to fight for it. Shu Jing Ming fought for every single piece of what he has now, and he's still fighting, even at the height of his power. Because true strength was never really about the ability rank stamped onto a piece of paper. It was always about the will underneath it, the refusal to quit, the courage to reach out and claim what others feared. And that will, that resolve, is exactly what's carrying him forward now, deeper into ancient, unexplored history. So whatever waits behind the next corridor, whatever guardians or rivals or hidden treasures lie ahead of him, remember this: he's already survived worse. He's already overcome greater odds. He's already proven time and time again exactly who he really is. Not trash, not a reject, not an easy target for anyone foolish enough to underestimate him. A legend forged in fire and lightning, built through relentless discipline, and driven by a promise he made himself as a grieving child. Never again powerless, never again helpless, never again the boy kneeling over everything he'd lost. That promise carried him through an exam nobody believed he'd survive. That promise carried him through a university that handed him a legendary mentor and an unbeatable technique. That promise carried him through cult wars, tournament finals, and a national spotlight few students ever earn. And that same promise is exactly what's carrying him now, disguised and hunted, into the heart of ancient civilization. Whatever this next chapter holds, one outcome feels almost inevitable at this point in his incredible journey. He walks in as a hunted stranger, and he'll walk out as something even the empires plotting against him never expected. Stronger, sharper, more dangerous than ever before, with an even bigger legend trailing behind him. That's the story of Shu Jing Ming so far, a boy who turned every single insult into motivation, every threat into opportunity. From an E-rank spark nobody respected, to golden lightning powerful enough to shake entire military outposts to their core. From a grieving orphan with nothing left, to a young man surrounded by loyal friends, a devoted master, and two partners who adore him. From a classroom that wrote him off completely, to ancient ruins where entire nations now watch his every move. Every single piece of that transformation was earned, step by brutal, hard-fought step, exactly the way real legends are built. And whatever comes next in this incredible story, Ming, one thing has never once wavered from that very first hook. Shu Jing Ming refuses to be anything less than exactly who he decided to become on that desperate, grief-filled night. A fighter, a survivor, a legend that no ceiling, no rival, and no ancient danger has ever managed to contain. So as we leave him standing at the edge of history itself, disguised, hunted, and utterly fearless, remember his true beginning. A boy nobody believed in who refused to believe them and built himself into a storm the entire world now respects. That's the true power behind this incredible story, far beyond any lightning bolt or shattered record. A reminder that the people who call you trash rarely know the fire actually burning underneath the surface. Shu Jing Ming proved that fire could grow into something unstoppable, one impossible victory after another. And that fire is still burning right now, carrying him deeper into a legend, still being written with every single step forward. From an E-rank reject to an SS-rank legend, from a lonely orphan to a young man surrounded by people who love him, that is the journey of Shu Jing Ming. And it is a journey earned through discipline, courage, and an unbreakable refusal to quit. No matter what waits behind those ancient gates, he has already proven, beyond any doubt, exactly who he really is. Not trash, not weak, not powerless ever again. A legend forged from grief into greatness and built to last.